Hey world. All right, so I'm trying to do a little something different. Step out of my comfort zone, or not really a comfort zone, cause I write all the time and I tell select people about my stories, read them to them, send them to them, shit like that. But I'm just trying to, start up something different. Have a little story time with everybody. Everybody that wants to listen, everybody that wants to, put their input or, reading, movies, all that shit is therapeutic. It gives you a chance to go into a world that you haven't been in, or if you have been in it, it gives you a chance to see that, you're not alone with shit. So, not tonight cuz I'm obviously tired as fuck and I have an attitude because my phone is fucking with me and I have to hold this heavy ass tablet. So, when I do get my YouTube page up and running, it's called The Cursing Prophet. Find me on there, like, subscribe, all that good stuff. But for now, we'll stick to, Insta and anything else that'll let me upload this shit on here. All right? So what I'm going to be doing is doing like little story times, like urban stories, like different stories. Not all of them will have like part twos like this first one is. You're only going to get part one tonight though. But this one, like I said, has part two. They're all going to be short stories, and I'll try to keep them as short as possible with getting the pain out, getting the message across, and all of that fun stuff. So, the first story that I'm going to read to you is called The Time Karma Got Me. Y'all ready? I'm not, but gotta start sometime. Oh, really, really quick. All of this is all of my own writing, all from me, and I do not give anybody the right to use my stuff without my permission. Okay? So if you go make some coins and I hear about a movie or anything like that, CC naughty. Alright? Don't be funny. I also do not own the rights to Hot Cheetos, BET's Comic View, and Tylenol. But they showed up in the story. But I don't own them. Alright? Shout out to all of them. Cause I don't own none of that shit. But it's in here. Alright. Part 1. My name is Karma. Now that I'm 30, I realize that it's perfect. The name fits me, and I fit the name. Growing up, kids somehow found a way to tease me about, of course, these were the Georges, Nicoles, and Britneys of the world. So unoriginal. The saying karma is a bitch was whispered so much to me that by the time I was 12, I was officially a bitch. And hey, I was karma too. Excuse me if I stumble over shit, like rough draft, tired, but we're gonna get on to it. 12 was a really big year for me. I mean, at the time, but as I've stated, I'm over twice that age now. And so much more shit in other years have passed that I've outdone these motherfuckers. But back to what I was saying. Then, 12 was a really big year. It was the year that I went to middle school, the same year I met my first crush. Hell, I got a training bra that had absolutely nothing to train. I got my period, a brand new nephew, oh, and an unwanted train ran through my body. And ladies and gentlemen, not the train that goes choo choo. But we'll get to that later. My boyfriend was fine. His name was Jarvis, and he was the new boy. He wore dreadlocks and in the front with a low shave before it became a style. He had a crooked tooth, but as long as he didn't smile, it made it that much better. He smiled a lot. Jarvis was in 4 out of my 6 classes, and I adored it. He was a class clown. I learned to love that aspect of him, but it was only after me and him bumped heads. My name was Karma Jones. You know that old school, me and Mrs. Jones, which I didn't know was a weakness of mine, was a fucking weakness. Each lyric that he recited infuriated me, but now I love him. Do I? I know y'all is leaning in because of how casually I just mentioned that choo-choo, but relax, hold on, and let me create a picture for you. Now, I may have had my first crush and first boyfriend when I was 12, but to be completely honest with you, Mama didn't play that shit. And as far as she knew, I was single. As luck would have it, Jarvis lived on the same street as my best friend TT. This was just perfect. I'm not sure where you're from or if they still even do this in schools anymore, but our early release day was on Wednesdays. For 12-year-old me, my slick ass, that meant extra time at TT's house, aka Jarvis. The first Wednesday at Jarvis was amazing. He invited TT and I over in sixth period, and I was just ecstatic. Immediately after we got off the school bus, we raced to TT's house to change it to something, I don't know, better, cuter, growner. As we sat in TT's bathroom, applying what I'm sure now to be entirely too much makeup. But just like dating, makeup too was strictly forbidden, at least until my 13th birthday. Hey girls, TT's mother Aubrey greeted us as she stood behind us in the mirror, adjusting her name tag. What are you girls doing? Playing dress up? TT and I both glanced nervously at each other. Miss Aubrey was not as strict as my mother. However, I knew... Oh shit now. I knew the truth of us going over to entertain boys down the street would not have been tolerated. I thought fast to avoid telling a lie, but to instead just settle on the half lie Miss Aubrey donated. Yes, ma'am. I answered confidently. Okay, sounds like fun. Don't touch any of the good stuff. That's mine, she said with a wink. Then she became serious. You both know the rules. No company, don't leave this house, and dinner's on the stove already. Just wait for Ananisa to get off and have dinner with her. She kissed both of our foreheads goodbye and then headed towards the front door. TT followed slowly behind her to lock the door. I could sense TT was nervous. Hell, I just literally, when the bus pulled away from campus, told her of our plans. Yeah, I know, since fourth period, but I knew TT was a good girl who made perfect grades and followed all of her mother's rules. So getting her convinced was time consuming. It took the entire bus ride to receive the shakiest, I guess. But I took the win where I could find it. Are you okay, TT? I asked. No matter her answer, I was going to Jarvis's. Yeah, I'm okay. Let's just make this quick, all right? No problem, bestie. When I said this, I was sure of two things. One, it would not be a quick visit, for God's sakes. Her Aunt Nisa wasn't even expected for 3.5 hours, so I wasn't showing back up until she was due. And two, that TT would be furious that it wasn't just the three of us. I mean, I wanted her to have fun while I enjoyed my time with Jarvis. Out of fear of her mom turning around for some forgotten this or that, we were forced to linger for 10 whole fucking minutes. This was the longest 10 minutes of my life. I kept my eyes zoomed in on the small little clock that sat above the TV stand. TT had her eyes fixated on the street for her mom's Chevy. I loved TT. She was my sis. Hell, I even called her Sissy. But right now, she was working my last nerve. Okay, it's been 10 minutes. Let's go, I said, adjusting my now full training bra. It was full of tissue, but Jarvis would be none the wiser. TT looked up, and we placed the key under the mat, and we were on our way. Jarvis' house smelled of smoke. Not the cigarette smoke that his clothes smelled like, but more skunky. TT immediately covered her nose. I didn't want to offend Jarvis, so I smiled patiently as he led us to a room that was blaring rap music loudly. When we entered the room, it was 4 more faces that he hadn't told me would be there. TT lingered in the doorframe until I gently nudged her in the back. Our options of seating was limited. It was the floor, where 2 guys sat, the bed, where Jarvis plopped into, and a beat-up old brown couch that housed the other guy. I immediately made a beeline for the bed on TT. She stood looking nervous. Hey, baby girl, come sit next to me. I don't bite, said the guy closest to her on the couch, patting the open seat. I saw the goals in his mouth flash as he talked to her. TT looked at me and then reluctantly took the last open seat, sitting as far away and as physically possible from Goldmouth guy. Shit, my bad, Jarvis said, quickly sitting up. TT and Karma, this my crew. He ran around saying names of everyone, and truthfully, they were all nicknames like Jay, Pooh, Drake, or other, so I didn't really take inventory. I did remember Goldmouth guy's name, Tank, only simply because over the afternoon, all the guys seemingly looked to Tank to answer questions or ask his opinion, almost like he was their leader. Once I got on the bed with Jarvis, it was as if nobody else was in the room. We laughed, joked, picked on teachers, and some of the students that Jarvis knew. TT walked over a few times to whisper that she wanted to go home, another to say none of the guys lived in our city, and the last to say that Tank was making her really uncomfortable. At her last whisper, I just moved over so that she can lay with us. Jarvis' friends produced this little pipe thingy with water, and in the small metal protruding tube was what looked like grass to me. As they lit the grass, that skunky smell took over the tiny room. TT must have noticed the smell too, because by now she was covering her nose and her mouth. All of the guys, including Jarvis, found that to be amusing. "What's wrong, little mama?" Tank said. "You don't like the smell of herbs?" TT only shook her head slowly in a no motion. This produced more laughs. Not to be seen in that light, I volunteered that I loved the smell. That was a lie. "That's why you my baby," Jarvis said as he kissed me on the lips. I had my first kiss. Jarvis took the water pipe and held it to my lips. Because I had already studied each guy that puffed from the pipe, I was ready. He would see that I was cool too. The first hit made me choke something serious. It felt like fire was entering both my mouth and my nose. This somehow sparked more laughter than TT's reaction to the smell. I was ashamed. I had to make it better. "Let me do it again," I said, determined. "Can you handle any more, little mama?" Tank said as Jarvis was fixing up my next turn. Jarvis handed me the pipe until I answered Tank. I realized. "Yeah, I can handle anything," I said, trying my hardest to sound more mature. "Looks like we just popped your cherry," Tank said. "My cherry?" I repeated back, confused. "Yeah, yo cherry," Tank repeated. "Do you know what that means?" I shook my head no as I inhaled from the musty pipe. "Well, don't worry. You'll learn soon," Tank said, laughing, and all the other boys followed suit. At that statement, he went and gave Jarvis and the other guys a round of high fives as it went over my adolescent head. "It's 5:45, TT said, looking the happiest I've seen her since we stepped foot inside the house. I won't lie, I was beyond disappointed. This was the most excitement that I've had in 12 fucking years. Needless to say, I was now hooked. I spent every Wednesday at Jarvis' house. We did nothing much besides smoke out of that little pipe, listen to music, and make out, the latter being between only me and Jarvis. We were never alone, and occasionally the faces of his crew would change. But Tank, he was always there, and he was always talking. About what, I still really can't say, because I was so into Jarvis, and he into me. The entire first month of Wednesdays, Tank would always ask about his baby girl TT, and why she wasn't there. Not wanting to show that my best friend was lame, I always made up an excuse for her. Homework, punishment, whatever popped into my head at the time. By now, Jarvis had started to get acquainted in our small town, and sometimes I'd recognize a few of my classmates visiting while I was there. They never stay but a few minutes, and if that, it would only be to shake his hand and shake Tank's hand first. They always went to Tank first. I thought this was the silliest thing that I've ever seen, and one day I was so stoned that I just could not stop laughing at the thought of it. "Yo, what the fuck is so funny?" Tank asked me as he studied my face. "Nothing," I said, barely able to take a breath. I don't know why it was so funny, but I continued my laugh. The ever so loud music came to a silent halt, and I sat up to see Tank yanking the CD player's cord from the socket. "Bitch," I said, "what the fuck is so funny?" And with this, he stood up and lessened the space between him and I, still laughing on the bed. Not wanting to seem afraid, I sat up. "Look, nigga, I ain't no bitch. That would be your mama." I was used to hearing oohs and ahs when I dissed mamas at school, but the room became eerily quiet. I turned around to glance at Jarvis, wanting him to take up for me anything besides having his eyes fixated on the now empty pipe in his hands. I looked at the other boys, the crew, and they too, like Jarvis, remained fixated on something other than Tank and I. "Yo, Jay, you want to handle your bitch?" Tank asked Jarvis through clenched teeth. By now I was pissed. Don't damn nigga talk to me like this, ever. Who the fuck he thought he was? My daddy? He was only Jarvis' friend. I was his old lady, as he referred to me. I opened my mouth to get right back at this gold-mouthed monkey. Jarvis nudged me on my back and said quietly, I'm sorry, man. She was just playing. No, I wasn't, I thought to myself. But the tone of the room made me remain calm, and I thought I may have felt the bed shake a little. Tank stared at me for what seemed like an eternity, and me, never being one to back down, stared back. He eventually found whatever it was that he was looking for behind my eyes and turned to plug the CD player back up. The others went back to their conversation, quietly now, and Jarvis focused still on the empty pipe in his hand. I laid back down and waited for Jarvis to follow suit, but he didn't. Instead, he stared more at the pipe, this time looking worried. I was aggravated, and by now, after 3 rounds with the pipe, I was starving. I leaned to the edge of the bed and grabbed my book bag and produced a pineapple soda and a bag of hot Cheetos. As I usually did, I offered them both to Jarvis first, and he looked up finally, but not at me or my offering, just at Tank. I turned to look as well, and just as I figured, Tank's bionic mouth ass was staring us down. Jarvis never reached for it, so I ripped open the bag and ate the chips slowly, once again, matching Tank's gaze. He watched me and I him until I was halfway through my snack. Then he retorted, Why you never bring shit for us, huh? Haven't you heard it's rude as fuck to eat in front of people without first offering? Nope, I said, lying. And if y'all want something, just ask. I rolled my eyes for emphasis. My granny always said, a closed mouth don't get fed. Tank studied me a bit more. He laughed, and I snorted. All right, shawty. Let me have some of those chips. A nigga got the munchies over here. It was my turn now to study him. After a few seconds, I turned the bag over and let the remaining half fall into my mouth, even falling on my shirt and on the bed. I won't lie, I damn near choked. But my parents taught me at an early age that you teach people how to treat you. And it was Buttermouth's lesson to be learned now. I took my sweet time chewing, being careful not to actually choke, and then slowly washed it down with my pineapple soda. This time, I hadn't noticed how nobody was talking again, or how the music was once more quiet. This made it that much obvious, the loud thudding of Tank's boots, as he quickly made his way to the bed to slap my soda out of my hand and across the room. I stood quickly to be ready for whatever was the next action. I was cautious, but I was not afraid. Although Tank was much older, he wasn't too much bigger, and I wasn't afraid to fight boys at all. Just last year, at the bus stop, I fought that Haitian fool Webster and his bald-headed ass sister by myself and won, not to mention my cousins and other boys that tried me over time. Tank lunged right past me and instead yanked the pipe away from Jarvis so quickly and so strongly that he almost yanked Jarvis with him. Yo, this stupid fucking bitch can't hit the draw no more. So, I said, as I picked up my book bag, I'm not here for that shit anyway. I'm here for Jarvis. Well, bitch, Jarvis is busy. I turned to look at Jarvis, but of course, there he was with his head down, focused on some irrelevant spot, this time his feet. I'd address his ass later. Nigga, this Jarvis place, I yelled. Tank yelled back. His place, but my trap, you dumb hoe. I didn't understand what he meant, but I was ready to go now, or we would just have to fight this shit out. And although I was unafraid, I wasn't stupid. Even if Jarvis' scary ass continued to stare at his feet, would the other niggas jump in? Yeah, yo trap, I said, but this ain't a web and ain't no fucking fly. Fuck you, I said, and I stormed out. On my way, I kicked that soda bottle towards the place where Jarvis was standing and let myself out. I was pissed. Who the fuck was he? Better yet, who the fuck did he think he was talking to? Out of 18 cousins, I was of one of 2 girls. My guy cousins would fuck him up if I said to. He lucky I wasn't supposed to be here in the first place, or that would have been his ass. Jarvis, too, for letting that fool come sideways. The short walk back to TT's was even shorter this evening. I wanted to cry so bad, but not because I was sad. I really wanted to take that bottle and smash all his ugly ass gold teeth down his fucking throat. The only thing that changed my mood as I rung TT's doorbell was that stupid shit I said about not being like a trapped ass fly in a web. I laughed out loud. What the hell was I thinking? Thursday and Friday, Jarvis was absent from school. This soured my whole entire mood. So I would really have to wait until Monday to cuss his punk ass out and or break up with him. I hadn't decided on the last part because he was still kind of new and these country bitches still had a line forming around the corner for my man. I was karma. I was a bitch for the entire weekend. Although this was my weekend to stay with my nana, I convinced her to allow me to stay at TT's. Every chance I got to sneak away, I went and knocked at Jarvis' door. There already weren't that many opportunities. I volunteered to check the mail, go to the ice cream truck, clean out the garage. But with Miss Aubrey and Miss Niecy both being off on weekends, it made shit that much harder. TT was no help either, refusing to check the mail with me, get ice cream, or clean the garage. As it turned out, all of it was in vain anyways, because Jarvis never answered the door. Each time I went, I could hear the music, but just maybe he couldn't hear me over the music. Irritated, I spent the remaining part of the weekend watching some stupid childish show with TT about some Canadians attending school. She only watched it for the damn cripple that couldn't rap to save his life. I couldn't wait for Monday, and now I was sorry I blew off my nana. Monday, I ran to my class so that I could have a couple of extra minutes until Jarvis, and he was late. He entered the class just as the bell was chiming off. Careful, Mr. Hutchins, our science teacher said lazily, and lose the hoodie. I eyed Jarvis the entire time, willing him to look in my direction. He did not. Unfortunately for me, there was a test today. Double misfortune. I had the entire weekend to study, but I was focused on his ass. It was then, as he pulled off his hoodie, that I saw the knot on his cheek and forehead and the purple bruises going down his neck. Triple misfortune. Now I couldn't concentrate on this test. The next two classes I shared with Jarvis, he pulled the same stunt and entered the room just as each bell sounded off. He was timing this shit. By fifth period, social studies, I was ready. I entered the class early, and just as the bell was about to go off, I left the classroom and ran into Jarvis. And that damn hoodie. So you avoiding me? He said nothing. Instead, he tried to reach for the door that I was closing behind me, knowing full well that it locked from the outside, and I was sure to have detention for my tardiness. And now you're not talking to me? He looked down at his feet, shoes, and pulled the strings around his hoodie, tightened it into, "What's wrong with you?" This time, I tried to sound a bit more gentle. I'd cuss his ass out later, I thought. "No," was all he said. My attitude was back. "So, no is what's wrong with you? What sense does that make?" "No, I mean, nothing is wrong with me. And I meant, no, I'm not avoiding you or not talking to you." It was at that moment when Miss Powers, our social studies teacher, swung open the door. "Miss Jones? Mr. Hutchins? Care to join the class?" Jarvis almost flew past me. I had my pride, so I decided to ignore his ass for the rest of the day. I don't even think he cared, sadly. I woke up Tuesday in a slightly better mood. After all, it was Wednesday Junior. Jarvis was still making his entrance at the last second, so instead of giving him death stares, I forced myself to smile affectionately the few moments he did look my way. There was no way I was going to spend tomorrow watching the privileged Canadian show with TT. No way. At the beginning of fifth period, I handed Jarvis a note that simply said, "On for tomorrow. Yes, no, or maybe." At the end of class, he dropped the note off on my desk without even looking at me and left. I opened it to find all three of my options scratched through, with only the word "snacks" written across in bold letters. I sighed. Snacks it was. It was Wednesday, September 29th, or normal day. That day, the universe was a liar. The sun shined brighter, the birds chirped louder, and the clouds didn't even exist. It was beautiful. Early release felt even earlier somehow. I felt as if my mom had just woke me to get ready for the day, and now before I knew it, I was in Jarvis's bed. I eyed Tank as he fiddled with the CD player and pretended to ignore my entire existence. I liked that. The rest of the crew was busy either rapping to each song that Tank proceeded to change and rolling little cigarettes. Excuse me, y'all, I'm getting dry. Where's the pipe? I asked Jarvis. And without looking at me, he mumbled, "We doing it different today." Speaking of different, I reached in my backpack and grabbed out a 2-liter pineapple soda and a family bag of chips. I almost forgot, I said, or rather loudly, and this finally got Tank's attention. Maybe my mom was playing tricks on me, but I could have sworn I saw something of a smile. I eyed the white cigarettes as the rotation proceeded in our usual manner. Tank, floor nigga number 1, number 2, then couch nigga number 1 and number 2, then me, and lastly Jarvis. When it was my turn, I almost died, or at least that's what it felt like. It was worse than my first time smoking. This smoke seemed to attach to my throat, my lungs, and even my brain. And on top of that, it tasted horrible. I almost couldn't hand it to Jarvis because of how badly I was choking. When I finally could talk, I told Jarvis how I didn't like it and how nasty it was. I swear it had the aftertaste of sucking on Tylenol. "Shawty, that's just the taste of the blunt," Tank said, laughing. Jarvis skipped his turn. This time, as I eyed the blunt, as Tank called it, it was not with any fascination. It was more dreadful. I tried not to inhale as deeply, but that same feeling shot through me again. This go round, aiming more at my brain. Not wanting to seem like I couldn't handle a blunt, I finished my last hit and handed it to Jarvis. He attempted to pass his turn again, but Tank yelled, "Nigga, fuck is wrong with you? You smoking or not?" Without answering, Jarvis put it to his lips and had the same reaction as I. "Fuck, give me my shit. You already know you're not even supposed to hit it like that," and snatched it from him. Well, how were we supposed to hit it? I thought. My throat, chest, and brain were burning so badly that I drank from the 2 liters straight. I felt as if I barely got a gulp down before it was placed back in my face. This time I tried to decline. "Y'all can go without me," I said with a strained voice. "Nah, la mama. You bought the snacks and shit. In fact, you get extra tonight. Take Jarvis' turn since he want to be a little bitch nigga." I looked at him without reaching for it. "Man, you real as fuck taking that shit like the OGs here," he said. Sounded more like a demand than an offer. The room was that same kind of quiet as it was last time, with everyone looking away. I unwillingly took the first 2 hits as quickly as I could and tried to pass it to Jarvis. "No," demanded Tank. "Consider this as my sorry. Jarvis can't get none." I hesitated and put the blunt back to my lips. My hands were shaking now from the fire that was going directly to my brain, but I puffed as I was told. I was in no mood physically to fight, let alone argue with Tank. "Yo, why does this music sound like that?" I asked. Excuse me. "Like what?" Tank questioned. "Like it's underwater or something," I whispered, with my throat now set on hellfire. "Man, you tripping," Tank said with a laugh. Y'all ready? I woke up with a start. I tried to sit up, but now I ached everywhere. My head hurt worse now, and oddly enough, so did my ass. You know those types of shit that make you have to get naked on the toilet and call to Jesus as you strain to struggle through it? Yeah, it was like that, except times a million. Because I couldn't sit up, I reached out for Jarvis. "What time is it?" I asked fearfully. The missing blinds revealed blackness and street lights through the cracks. The voice that came from next to me wasn't Jarvis, but instead Tank's. "Shawty, Common went off not too long ago, so my guess is a little after 10. He sounded so pleased, so calm. Pure fear went through my heart now. I have to get, I didn't know where to go. This late, I couldn't show up to TT's house without my mama, and I couldn't show up to my own house without Miss Aubrey. I have to go. Tank laughed next to me. Nah, shawty, he ain't going nowhere. It was then that I noticed that I was only in my underwear and training bra. Where's my clothes? I attempted to yell, but I was so hoarse it sounded like more of a choke. That don't matter none, Tank replied, and I felt him sit up. I used all the strength I had to finally sit myself up, and Tank grabbed a fistful of my hair and snatched me back down painfully. I winced. It made my ass hurt again. Jarvis, I said, this time more clearly. Oh, Jay right here, baby, Tank said, and it was then, in the dark room, that I could make out 5 figures surrounding the bed. Jarvis, I tried to say again, but before I could finish, I got slapped so hard that blood pooled in the corner of my mouth. Please, I begged, but my acknowledgement from Tank was only laughter. I want you to beg, baby, Tank whispered as he rolled over on top of me. We've been waiting for you to wake up so that we can get to the good part. He started to kiss me down my neck, then lower as he undid my bra in one motion. Please no, I begged. I'll give you anything. Bitch, what the fuck can you possibly give me that I'm not gonna take? I begged again, to no avail. Y'all ready? Tank asked, and no one answered. But he didn't care for an answer. He reached down and snatched my underwear off roughly. I reached down to move his hand, but he was faster, stronger. Jarvis, I begged, and this time I got punched twice in my mouth. Shut up, bitch. He can't save you. My mouth was filled with blood, so much that it was about to choke me. I had no choice but to swallow. I choked now on whatever was in my blood going down my throat. As my mouth became clear of the pool of blood, my tongue connected with my gums. I had swallowed my tooth, maybe even teeth. Y'all hold her down, Tank commanded, and instantly my arms were being held crucified style, and each leg was held down and spread apart. I tried to fight, but the more I tried to move, the tighter the grip. Just like last time. Me first, then Jarvis. After all, this is your bitch. And we all go till we done. It was the only time where Tank didn't wait for an answer. I tried to beg again, and this time the punches came quickly and everywhere. My face, my ribs, my chest. He was directly on top of me now, and by now my eyes had adjusted to the darkness of the room. I looked around. My ankles were being held by couch nigga 1 and 2, and my wrists by floor nigga 1 and 2. They all refused to look at me. Then I saw Jarvis, standing there at the end of the bed, focused on a spot on the floor. I wanted him to look at me, but he never looked up, even as Tank took his boxes off and forced his way into me. I let out a scream that, of course, got choked out by Tank, and then I closed my eyes. It seemed to last forever, and it hurt terribly. As I started to cry out from the force, Tank reached inside of my bra he had casually tossed on the bed and stuffed every bit of that tissue into my mouth. I screamed now, but it was nothing but a muffle. Finally, just as I felt I would pass out from the pain, he got up. Although still bound by the crew, only Jarvis stood before me. Just as I was thanking God that it was over, Jarvis was shoved forcibly on top of me. Your turn, nigga, Tank said, in between breaths. I shook my head. No. Please, I mumbled. Jarvis stalled at first until I saw a glimmer of silver next to his neck. I said, your turn. As if he was a robot, Jarvis undid his pants and copied Tank. He hurt less physically, but mentally and emotionally, I wished for death. He never even looked at me, but I looked at him the entire time. It was over rather quickly with Jarvis, and to my horror, he grabbed an ankle while couch nigga number 2 unbuckled his pants. I only knew the Lord's Prayer, and I must have recited it 1,000 times before everyone had their turn. Finally, it had been all 5, and Tank got on top of me again. It still hurt just as bad this time. It just wasn't as long. I closed my eyes as he finished and stood above me. Y'all can let her go now. And instantly I was freed. I could feel my ankles and wrists pulsing from the lack of blood as I tried to sit up. Tank choked me down. Who said you can get up? He asked. I wanted to beg again. but I chose not to. Everyone stood in silence as I lay too scared to even moan in pain. Are you going to tell anybody? Tank asked gently. I shook my head no. I still got hit. You lying bitch, he laughed as he hit me upside the head with his fists over and over again. I was so dizzy, although I was laying and so sleepy. I had never been more tired in my life. Yo, Tank demanded of the crew. Everybody grab a corner of the sheets. I don't want blood everywhere. I felt the 4 tugs of the sheet at each corner of the bed. Blood everywhere, I thought. I wonder how badly I was bleeding. It didn't take long for me to realize that it wasn't past blood or even present he was referring to, but my future blood. My eyes became big as Tank produced that silver gleam that he had threatened Jarvis with. Was that a hunting knife? I had no time to think, because before I knew it, it was being jabbed right through the middle of my throat. And then again. The last breath I inhaled was all I was able to share with my lungs as I prayed to God. I felt like I was still swallowing blood, even breathing it, although physically I could feel it pouring from my neck. I was being lifted up now and wrapped in the sheet. This added to the hole for my suffocation. I could hear the crickets chirp, and barely could I see the street lights as I was being thrown forcibly into a trunk. I knew I was going to die. Now, hearing some dirty-ass trunk. No, dirty behind trunk. I didn't want to curse anymore. God, I thought, if you will save me, I promise to be good, to just be 12. But as my eyes started to get heavy, I knew he wasn't going to save me. I couldn't breathe anymore. Then there was blackness. Was I in heaven, I thought? I felt like I was floating. It was dark, and I still ached. God, I tried to call out, but a gurgle was produced. I fell hard to the ground, and with what I was able to see, only a shoe was visible. Fuck, man, she's still alive. It was Jarvis. This was definitely not heaven. This was hell. So stab the bitch again. This voice belonged to floor nigga. Either 1 or 2. I ain't know. Off in the distance, I heard Tank demand to know what the holdup was. I think she's still alive, one of the couch niggas yelled. Put her down, said Tank, and I was dropped all the way now. As the sheet was snatched from around me, all the pain hit me at once. I was still naked. He let out a laugh. What is this bitch, Wonder Woman? And I saw the flash of silver above me. Jay, yo bitch, you finish her. There was a pause. I can't, Jarvis said shakily. I can't feel that under my hands. I saw the knife fall next to my head, almost close enough to have punctured me. Instead, it found the dirt and made a perfect upright landing. Okay, nigga, last chance, or you can die with her, Tank said threateningly. Please, Jarvis started. I can't even gut a fish. He sounded afraid. Okay, well, can you shoot one? I could hear a bag unzip, and then more silence. Even the crickets had stopped chirping. Oh God, I thought. I became as still as possible, trying to play dead. Maybe, just maybe, I wouldn't get shot. I had my eyes closed, but I heard the gun cock. Please, God. Please, God. I'm sorry. And then I heard the loudest firecracker go off around my head. Okay, that's the end of part 1. Let me know. Comments. Anything you want to say. If you want to just be a fucking troll, you can do that. If you want to be sincere, please do that. But, there's more where that came from. All different genres. But it's mostly going to be like real life shit. Stuff people go through. And stuff that I've seen. So, I've taken 40 minutes of your time. Don't forget, when I have my YouTube up and running, The Cursing Prophet, that's me. And I'm on Instagram too. All that. Peace, y'all. Thanks for listening.